Prime Minister, members of the head table, Minister Beach and other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. St. Vincent is one of the places that I am always very happy to visit, and no happier occasion than this one, not only because of this evening's event, but I had a distinct pleasure for the first time yesterday to drink some of your spa water. And my wife is here. She can tell you how restless I was all last night. Unknown to her, there's more water left in the hotel room. I also had an opportunity for the first time, and I've been here at least 20, 25 times in my life. I came here as a schoolboy. I got to go down on the leeward today and see a different aspect of St. Vincent. You know, I've always come here and remained in St. Vincent. I was saying to her that, you know, as I drove past the hotels from Grandview to Villa to Sunset Lodge to New Montrose, I could tell you all the different hotels I've stayed at, but I never got a chance to get out of Kingstown until this occasion. Prime Minister Gonzalez has invited me on several occasions in a private capacity to come, but I've never had the opportunity. But now I'm retired, I may just take him up on that offer.
Good afternoon, this is the most hurricane awareness campaign for 2008.
That's disaster preparedness, Harold.
Oh, I thought it was the NDP, sorry.
Well, that's disaster.
That's disaster, My good friend, Prime Minister Gonzalez, made reference in a rather uncharitable way with respect to the fact that I supported him only when he was losing. I am offering to support him next time. We go back a very long time. As he said, in the 1970s, when he was a struggling teacher at University of the West Indies, I wanted to take payment for it, but his socialist principles wouldn't allow him to take any money from me. He was just not prepared to handle any capitalist cash. But more than a columnist, he was also a confidant, some person in whom I could confide, I could consult, and discuss some of the challenges that we had, both of us had, with the Prime Minister of that era. He could put him out of Barbados, but he couldn't put me out. But Ralph was often able to give perspectives and assistance, and I really always appreciated the camaraderie and the friendship which we have enjoyed. From time to time we talk, and it really is a pleasure to be in your country this evening, Prime Minister. It is a hugely proud moment for me to be associated with this opening ceremony and to be here in St. Vincent among friends. This launch event is the culmination of a cherished dream of the directors of SVG Publishers Incorporated. I knew when this was merely a heart's desire, a bright idea, a wishful thought, an ambitious hope. Shakespeare would have termed it, quote, a consummation devoutly to be wished, end of quote. It is most gratifying to see it blossom into living reality. The blood, sweat, and tears should, however, not at all be forgotten or discounted in the splendor of our merrymaking this evening. Great effort and firm commitment have seen it to fruition. I warmly congratulate you, Chairperson, and your Board of Directors for your bold prevision and tenacity of purpose. The historiographers on whom will fall the responsibility accurately to chronicle this period of development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will have reason to look back on this date, Tuesday, May the 20th, 2008, and this place, Campden Park Industrial Estate, as representing an epoch-making advance in the maturing of an independent nation, the certifying of freedom of expression for the people, with its concomitant strengthening of that mightiest of protection of culture, knowledge. Perhaps we are all too close to this event fully to perceive its long-term significance for the upliftment of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This achievement milestone, the day of the opening of this web offset printing press and the plant that hosts it, is a landmark communications occasion. For by communications, we bridge the gap between nothingness and plenty. This facility is destined to make a lasting imprint on the cultural ethos of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And through its enduring overprint, it will lend new buoyancy to the spirit of your effervescent population. We owe a big debt of gratitude to the newspaper pioneers of St. Vincent, the stalwarts who toil with little recognition and less reward to ensure that the media in this country is recognized as having fully played its enlightenment role. I therefore hail with truly loving recollection the unselfish efforts of the late Edgy Richards and Nora Peacock. I shouldn't probably call Edgy and Nora in the same breath because I had to referee a lot of fights between the two of them. But I really hail their efforts, both of fond memory now, among those whom I knew personally and who paved the way through unstinted personal sacrifice to create a platform for citizens of this country of robust hills and meandering waters, and indeed free radio talk, freely to speak their views on the affairs that guide all citizens' destiny. I also count among the Vincentian trailblazers the respected Shelley Clark, editor of the News, and Norma Keyser, of more recent vintage than the Richardses and the Peacocks, but someone whom I regard as the caring mother of modern journalism enterprise in this country. For it was no less than their sustained appreciation of the educational value of the printed word, allied with their understanding of the key role of the media in a democracy, which for St. Vincent and the Grenadines has secured a reading public that grows from strength to strength with due appreciation for the efforts made by publishing and newspapers in this region. They toil unbidden with an inadequacy of tools, but no lack of talent, to engage thinking Vincentians in dialogue over matters of import. It is indeed their legacy which has assured this country of a thriving and empowered publishing industry today, and that has heralded the establishment of these premises. I am sure my friends at Searchlight and the News will forgive me if I pause to laud the sterling contribution of the Vincentian, now 101 years old, for its sustained role in media affairs. That paper is among the top 5 oldest newspapers in the Caribbean, and therefore has a proud legacy. We thank the Richards family first of all, and the others like Nora and Shelley, who so faithfully serve through some most difficult years and trying circumstances. I think those who have passed would be proud of all that has led to this evening's event. The achievement impetus for the launch of SVG Publishers Incorporated makes it a red letter day for your country, for it is a significant leap into a better future conceived out of confidence in the people of these islands as readers, your advertisers as sponsors, and indeed your government, which is a signatory to the Treaty of Chapultepec and is clearly committed to the high ideals of press freedom in St. Vincent. All of this is bolstered by feelings of national pride and dignity in functional independence, enthusiasm for business enterprises, and interest in the cultivation of communications and printing skills here. This advance in people's service follows many years of dependence and sacrifice by the shareholder newspapers which once were all printed overseas. Transformation has finally taken place. With the establishment of this enterprise, the founders of SVG Publishers Incorporated have now bequeathed to you and your following generations a rich legacy of homegrown information sharing, which is at the base a crucial pillar of any democracy. For with immediate access to state-of-the-art equipment that provides immediate printing and the mass distribution of information, this new establishment is taking a stand alongside free nations of the world where unimpeded access to mass media affords the people the opportunity fully to participate in how their state is governed. The lease of this building, coupled with the commissioning of the presses here of themselves, do not as such constitute the fulfillment of the communications and information needs of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They are catalysts, facilitators, just pathways to progress. The crucial satisfying of these needs is up to you, the people of these islands, with your owners and publishers, journalists and editors, news correspondents and columnists, who must recognize their key role in making fullest use of the technology to keep each other informed and hold government fully accountable for proper care of the people at large. For make no mistake, a high-speed printing press can be used for good or evil. Opportunities exist for this equipment to be put to negative use. For the perils of the pornographic market and the wastage inherent in the gossip market, activities encouraged by those who thrive on the salacious and the malicious, as financially viable options for printing presses. There are persons here and elsewhere who may well see this facility as their opportunity rapidly to generate masses of degenerate, antisocial material with which to sully and corrupt the precious innocents among us, in particular the very young. I am acquainted with the shining standards of leadership of SVG Publishers, and so it is with confidence that I anticipate the very opposite to these heinous negative traits. I anticipate material which is wholesome and inspiring and beneficial to roll off these presses in the years and indeed the decades to come for the edification and moral elevation of all Vincentians. The business model which led to the creation of SVG Publishers Incorporated is to be upheld as a fine example of cooperation. The coming together of two and now hopefully three competitors in a joint venture to establish this company speaks to the great potential we have as a people to find workable solutions among ourselves. While it is not by any means novel in the history of the printing industry, yet for Caribbean people it is the most pleasing first of its kind, and I wish them and you Godspeed in this project. Oscar Wilde once said, quote, "In this world there are only two tragedies. One is not getting what you want, and the other is getting it. End of quote. Having got what you wanted, SVG Publishers must now go on to secure itself by maximizing its printing capacity through expansion of editions and the creative marketing of the underutilized capacity of these presses. I am aware of the cynical view that SVG Publishers may have come on board with a high-speed printing press just when newspapers worldwide are said to be on their deathbed. While it is being muted by naysayers and those with vested interest in videography that there will be dwindling support for newspapers in coming decades, I nevertheless suggest that newspapering as an industry will outlive us all. The world as we know it is completely being remade and remade over again. But such change is neither as rapid nor as fearsome as some techno-buffs would have us believe. Newspapers are due for a facelift to make them more attractive to a fast-changing, instant messaging world. But the visual change in newspapers and for newspaper presses will be cosmetic, and I am sanguine that the history of informational service they provide will continue to be in demand for the foreseeable future. Why, you may wonder? Several good reasons lead me to that conclusion. The fine reputation of newspapers for the reliability of their information, their time-honored and proven consistency while adequately preparing us for the constant cycle of daily living, the intrinsic worth of a convenient and inexpensive meeting point for lawmakers and citizens in which to exchange ideas within confines of defined space, as well as the great value placed on newspaper brands, tested and supported by a well-served public over many years. As long as publishers do not become arrogant or fall asleep on the job, newspapers will take their due place as an essential part of the new media, said to be just around the corner. Even as I speak, the World Association of Newspapers is preparing for its June Congress in Gothenburg, Sweden, where the theme is, quote, newspapers, a multimedia growth business, end of quote. In its preamble, the Congress notes, quote, print publications remain the core activity of press companies, generating most of their profits and proving remarkably resilient against the onslaught of other information channels. At the same time, the internet is allowing newspapers to significantly extend their audiences and reach and dominate their markets as never before. How to best exploit multimedia opportunities now open to newspapers will be at the heart of this Congress discussion. End of quote. Change is constant in every sphere of life. The infomedia revolution provides a handy framework for understanding contemporary change and utilizing it. Not turning tail from it, which would be tantamount to ignorance, rather than joining forces with new knowledge. People who want to avoid risks inherent in the changing times must tap into the new opportunities for success, not run from the technology or curse it. Instead of feeling helpless, adrift in the sea of change around us, it is yet possible for us to steer a course by our own principles, using the new technology to make us even more relevant and efficient. I believe that papers will continue to provide snapshots in time. But the formula for the winning newspaper will change, will have to change. By customizing its product, it will offer greater depth of information on particular matters of interest. As an add-on, the newspaper will provide access to digital archives through the internet. The newspaper product will remain the document you will want to hold and walk with and refer to, but it will be part of a package of options at your fingertips on the keyboards needed by future consumers in decision making. I anticipate that there will be a great advantage in being able to portray information in new forms and to make its access easy, while yet retaining some of the value-proven features of newspapers that make them compelling and attractive. Newspapers have been with us for centuries. The first European paper, something of a trade paper, was published in England in the 1590s. But papers did not become mass media until the 1860s, when American William Bullock produced the first rotary press. Bullock's marvelous machine was fed by the same type of giant rolls of paper you will see here in these premises, producing thousands of newspapers in a matter of hours. Bullock has finally made it to Bayaboo. Apologies, however, to Carlos Maloney's first efforts at cross-country. Let us celebrate today, for even people closest to the new media cannot reliably predict how this medium will evolve. Indeed, Krishna Bharat, principal science with Google Incorporated in India, told a conference I attended 2 years ago, quote, "We are in a very young industry that is evolving rapidly, and we still do not understand fully how it is going to impact our business," end of quote. Newspapers have historically been a superior medium for conveying thoughts and ideas. The flexibility of the product, with its role of reaching out to readers with a well-ordered presentation of news, made it efficient to manage as a form of information distribution. This will undergo change. Perhaps papers will evolve into new personal items, possibly available on your home computer. But before that happens, though, someone will have to come up with a method of making information gathering, particularly eyewitness on-the-spot continuing coverage of breaking events, sufficiently inexpensive so that its packaging does not require big commercial endorsements, as is now the case, to bring information to people. A world that will be depending on more information and more reliable information will have to pay for it. Cheap reports and idiosyncratic blogs will not cut it. Media is now a highly expensive, sophisticated industry, and its devotees will hardly settle for poorly written half-truths or suspect information that is blatantly colored. All of society benefits from good journalism, and in time we will need to figure out not only the manner in which consumers will get their news in the future, but also in what form will society at large pay for production of good journalism. If everybody is blogging and everybody is writing news, then there will be so much free press that consumers will be confused and not know where to go for the genuine item. Consumers will not only face a quantitative embarrassment of riches, but also a qualitative problem of selecting the most trustworthy sources. Somebody will still methodically have to record the history of this planet in great detail every day and share it in a consistent manner with people all over the world. Somebody will still have to remind society of the promises made earlier by governments, but since apparently now forgotten. Somebody will have to draw world attention to parallels and contradictions between, say, Bosnia and Darfur, or between Iraq and Vietnam. Eventually, consumers will seek refuge in a trusted brand, be it on a printed page a TV screen, or a computer. That is what secures journalism. That brings us to the juncture where ownership and control of news dissemination raises its powerful head. Traditionally, news has to be owned to be believed. Hence attribution, hence reliable sources, hence publication brands, be they newspapers or magazines. There are proprietary rights to news which have always resided in news organizations. These will continue to exist. How that information is parlayed constitutes the technological challenges which will ultimately give readers management capabilities over information they want to access. That's where the battle of the future is engaged. But newspaper people can be assured that there will always be a never-ending need for the work of current historians of the world in action to ferret out the news, to report and put it in context in a form that is easily assimilated. The rules are unchanged. Media that will listen, understand, promote values, hear nuances, and raise issues will be the media of the human future as it was in the very beginning. Media with a brain and hopefully a heart is what the world really needs. By creating this facility, you have shown us your brains. Now let us see your heart. I trust you will take your responsibilities seriously to heart. First to war, first to peace, first to the hearts of fellow citizens. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.